She's recently released her second book, The Other Story, which profiles several figures who've beat the odds and gone on to achieve great success. Dr. Dlamini, thank you so much for joining me in studio and welcome to Morning News today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Rafili.
Oh, it's an absolute honor and a pleasure. Thank you. Dr. Dlamini, your book, The Other Story, it's quite a heart, it's got a really touching and heartwarming introduction. And obviously I got the sense, I took away the idea that it's premised largely on the urgency, the sense of urgency you felt when your first grandchild was born. And it seemed to spur you on to further action, to do even more. Tell me about what that was.
I think our mindset is our strongest tool. How we are socialized, how we perceive ourselves, determines on, who we become, because that's what you are told you are. And there aren't many people who fight that, have the resilience to fight that and say, no, I'm not what you say I am, I know who I am.
Absolutely.
And I therefore feel an obligation that because of the pain that apartheid actually inflicted on South Africa, but not only that, just the colonization of the continent, there is that mindset that we actually need to work consistently to remind our people that you are better than this. The negative narrative that you find when you look at all the other continents, when it comes to our continent, the negative narrative of what we are not, and the negative things that you are perceived to do, some are real, some are not, but there's so many other good things that we are. And that's the story that I would like my grandkids to read about. That's the person or the people that I want them to become, because the story that they read about themselves, when they look at the mirror and they see these people who are amazing, as we say, who actually beat all the odds, and not only achieve in their personal capacity, but do something to make the world better, do something for people outside their families.
So this is a Pan-African sit-down and sort of fireside chat with numerous people from the continent, like you said, who've had a huge social impact. Talk to me about the specific skills or your particular interest in individuals with clout, soft power, to be able to effect change in the immediate circles around them, but also on a larger level, because we're often find ourselves dealing with systemic or governance failures, and people like yourselves perhaps need to step into that breach.
One of the things that's important is that we always think leadership is about political leadership.
Absolutely.
And yet there are so many people doing so many things in their areas that actually change the world, change the communities that they come from. When you look at, the Tumamina initiative, it's actually saying, send me. It's not about what your country can do for you. It's actually what you can do with what you have. And quite a few of us have been privileged, not because we were born with a silver spoon, but because we worked hard to achieve something. And that something can't just be enjoyed by the few people within our families, but it should go outside that. If you look at the people that I interviewed, it's 12 leaders, 8 from South Africa, 1 from Uganda, 1 from Tanzania, 1 from Nigeria, and 1 from Ghana. And the story is similar, and the age span is from 28 to 98. And I deliberately chose people from different spheres. Like you have an engineer, you have accountants, you have a teacher who becomes a retailer, and so forth. Because the message is, it's not about your first degree or your first career that you choose. It's about what actually drives you and what your purpose is.
Well, let's talk about purpose and what you've just said, the fact that it's not necessarily about what you've studied or what your first degree is, but the idea that you can pivot at some point and decide to change. It's difficult. It's a difficult thing to do. It is a very difficult proposition. What do you think, and because this is a Pan-African book, what do you think are the specific skills that we can start to adopt, or the specific ideas that we can start to adopt and use and implement as Africans on this continent who want to make the continent work? One of your interviewees, Ali Mufuruki, says, so if you want our place, Africa, to work well, we have to fix it, right? Nobody else can fix it for us. They can exploit it. but they're not going to fix it. And I think more than what you're doing and saying in your story, in your book rather, is that beyond fixing it, it's time to start building.
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, definitely. If you look at the 8 different people, just look at Ali. Came back from Germany from a very good job, and he thought, you know, I think I can add value in my country, and he came to fix it. He came to build it. And I think more than the skills, it's really about saying, what's my purpose? It's really about believing in yourself, because a lot of people criticize our youth in South Africa and say, if you look at youth from different parts of the continent, they are prepared to try things out. They are not looking for early gratification. And I say, that's maybe an unfair criticism, because entrepreneurship is hard. And for you to be able to go out and do something, you have to believe in yourself. And if you look at what Mabuto says, he actually says, when you destroy someone's dignity, when you make them feel less and tell them every day that you are less, we've actually just come out of that. And by the way, just because it's actually not legislated anymore, it hasn't erased in our minds, because you still have those racist attitudes, you know, where you, even at work, where you actually come to a culture that doesn't accept you for who you are. It's quite a Western culture. And till we have a culture that's inclusive, that actually accepts you, then you are able to thrive. But coming back to the mindset thing is that we need these stories, and I've called it a fireside chat because it's a chilled way where you actually, which is what used to happen back in the day, where families used to sit around the fire and tell their stories.
And it's not didactic either.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just sharing experiences.
It's just sharing experiences, and it's easy to read, it's bedside reading, but the message is clear. You are worth you're worth a lot as a person. This is my journey as Ali, as Sizwe, as Sizanele Mbeki, the people that are covered in the book. And not that I didn't have challenges along the way, but I overcame them. And these are the tools to empower you.
Before I let you go, unfortunately, time's not on our side, I want to talk about, you mentioned the fact that you were not born with a silver spoon in your mouth, but you did come from exceptional circumstances. I mean, reading that you grew up with an entrepreneurial mother. She was teaching, but she also had jobs, and she had a tuck shop that she ran, etc. You grew up in Westville at the time, and I thought, huh? And then, of course, you expand on the fact that your father sort of decided to buy land in that area, and he got an exception to live in that area, even though it was later on deemed a whites-only area. But it seems to me that some of this growing up gave you insight into the fact that in any circumstance in life, there's always a way to work around a situation or to work around a barrier. That resilience, is that something that you wish that everybody could start to understand and start to and just instill in people that actually we can work around it, or you can work around a difficult situation?
Oh, by all means. By all means. If you actually look at each and every person in the book, they all had challenges. And you have to tell yourself, it's a mind game, you know, because sometimes you're not born strong, sometimes you're lucky that you have parents that instill strength and resilience in you, which is what I had. Sometimes you don't even have those parents. And look at people like these, read about the people that have actually overcome challenges, and take a leaf out of their book and make it happen for yourself, because I really believe each one of us has it in them to make it for themselves.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Rafila. Thanks for having me. Thank you.